Good morning, good evening. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing, we wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you listening on the Life Online Radio Network, we welcome you in. For those of you tuning in on YouTube, we welcome you in. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Affinity Writing and Editing Services. That's at Affinity WES. You can type that into Twitter or onto Facebook, and one of them will be happy to help you with all your writing needs. Happy New Year, everybody. Did anybody miss me? I must apologize for my tardiness. Unfortunately, I planned ahead. I did plan ahead. Recorded a couple episodes, tried to get ahead of the game so I could go through New Year's and get back to y'all in 2021 to see what happened. And I got myself a nice case of strep throat that I shared with the family. Good news, it's not the pandemic, it's not the plague, but it's still annoying. My poor significant other is upstairs coughing her lungs out right now. Our little one, fortunately, is pretty much unaffected. But it's a scary thing to have anything when there's a worldwide pandemic. My significant other has been off work because she's afraid if she goes in and starts coughing, people are going to freak out. And that's a legitimate concern in the present day and age. Companies can't afford to make a mistake. They honestly can't. I mean, there's the rich out there that they're making their regular billions and trillions. Your Kraft, Nabisco, those sort of people, Danone. They're never going to have a problem because they deal in food and they can pretty much set whatever price they want. But for your local store, hobby stores especially, for people who do public things, and for that I'm thinking of comedians, performers, people who give presentations for a living, this has been catastrophic. We've never seen an economic impact quite like this before. That makes a lot of people afraid. And it's fear with good reason. Fear can be a lot of things. Fear can be a motivator. Fear can be very powerful in saying, hey, we need to get off our butts and do something about all this. But in this case, fear has turned people absolutely insane. Going back to the small businesses, I've seen fear force small businesses into selling off key pieces of equipment. Imagine, if you will, a cleaning company. And this is a real example. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, but a cleaning company, I suspect, would have cleaners, employees, some sort of a vehicle to get them to and from where they're going, and cleaning equipment. A lot of companies are not only laying off the employees, but they're selling that vehicle. So all these cars and stuff that Chrysler, GM, Ford, Toyota, Honda, anybody you name are making, no one's buying them. So why are they still going at full capacity? It makes no sense. There's a glut of vehicles on the market right now. If you are in a financially beneficial position and you actually have the money to do so, this is a great time to buy stuff because nobody else is. Food, yes, people are buying food, and it's going up and up. My bacon and celery index still holds true. 2.5, 3 years ago, let's put it back to 2016, 2017. You could get a pack of bacon for about $2. You could get a bunch of celery, sticks of it for 99 cents. These days, you can't find either for under $3, aside from during peak harvesting season. And where I live, it's winter. It's snowing. We had a big blizzard the other day. We're not exactly getting fresh celery in. Bacon, probably. I don't know. I don't really eat much bacon. But that's causing people immediately to say, it's harder for me to survive. Now, this is a subconscious thing, Most people are just trying to make it day to day, but people are feeling the pinch in their wallets. People are noticing that when they go to their local grocery store, local chain, the chains are allowed to open and the local stores are not necessarily allowed to open. But they're noticing when they go there, those lemons that you used to get a 5-pack of for $1 a year ago are now like 2 for $1. So since you need 5 because you know you're going to make some iced tea, you're going to make a lemon chicken, whatever you might decide that you're doing, you need the 5 of them. Now you're spending $2 and $3 for the same amount that costs you $1. You notice that, especially when your income is limited. The farmers aren't making extra money out of this. You're paying more money, and all of that is going to the people in the middle. And I'll even say the transportation companies are not to blame. They are going through just utter hell trying to keep ends going. They're afraid because every contract gets lower and lower because the big companies know they're all the transportation companies are looking for business. So your Nestle, your Kraft, your Nabisco, all those wonderful people can turn around and say, well, I paid you $1,200 for that lane from Ohio up to Toronto last year. This year I want it for $1,100. Now that the company still has to pay for the truck, pay for the driver, pay for the gas, pay cross-border tolls, whatever you might say. And transportation is really the backbone of our economy. Years and years ago, there was a manufacturing element that was everywhere. There was redundant factories. But for some crazy reason, we've gone away from that model. We can outsource that to Kansas City, to China, to Vietnam, to Mars very soon, probably the way Elon Musk is setting up the Starship. And boy, haven't you noticed he's increased production on those things? Interesting, during a pandemic, he gets to go ahead with his private space program. But you or I try to build a rocket and we'd be hounded inside. Speaking of inside, yeah, a lot of you guys out there are not essential service workers, so we're spending a lot of time inside. I'm lucky. I kind of don't like going out. I like my backyard. I like going around to the parks and stuff in the area. I don't really like going out to concerts. I don't really like going out to malls. I just find the rush of people to be overwhelming. But a lot of people love that adrenaline. They feed off that crowd energy. And I've been to a couple of concerts, I'll admit, they gave me that crowd energy. Aerosmith, for example. Loved them. Loved them to death. And it was wonderful energy in that crowd. That being said, as I've gotten older, I think I've become a little bit more of a curmudgeon. So, I like my backyard, I like my garden, I like enjoying a nice refreshing beverage on a nice spring or summer day and knowing everything is secure. I have that luxury. I honestly don't know how those people who had 5 people crammed into a 2-bedroom apartment, no judgment against them, you can afford what you can afford, and landlords, we'll get into them in a minute. So think about that. There's 5 people in a 2-bedroom. Let's pretend for a second 2 parents in the bedroom, one of the bedrooms. You can put maximum 2 kids in the other one, maybe if you're lucky 3, although probably that 3rd kid is sleeping on the sofa, or you're just using that apartment as a place to bunk while everybody goes to school, work, and everything. And now during the pandemic, no one's going anywhere. You're stuck. That's a harsh situation. And I wonder how common it really is across the world, because it's not just the weird societies, the Western, educated, industrialized, rich democracies. It's affecting everybody. There's no dividing line in this war. It's worldwide. And whether you want to call the virus fake, whether you want to say it was man-made, I am not going to dispute you on either of those points. I don't have the time or the resources to do that research. The research I've been doing is to how it's affecting humans. There are businesses that are making money. Construction. Yes, construction has been deemed an essential service this entire time, and people are still out there building stuff. Whether it be highways, whether it be roadways, whatever it is, they're going through quite a boom. Kitchen installation. You might not think that's a big one, but whew, I can tell you personally from last year, it's been going nuts. People are still shipping stuff across North America so that people can install kitchens. You would really think that would not be necessary, but kitchens are necessary even though a building isn't finished, and the building structure has to go on. The problem with everything that we have is people don't know what's going on. We hear one thing on the radio, we hear one thing on the TV, we read something else on the internet, and then Facebook has our friend posting something that disproves all three. Who's right? Who's to say? And this is the exact mentality that causes fear. We've been living with this fear for over a year. I'm a poet and had no idea. But after a year of living in fear, people are starting to lose their minds. Not starting, it happened a while ago, but the losing their mind parts is holding true. You might notice that I've happily skipped over a couple major events leading up to January 20th. And I'm purposely doing that because I'm trying to illustrate the fear part before I illustrate the second part. We'll be coming to that in a minute or two. So since people are afraid, and people come together when they're afraid, human beings are essentially a herd animal. We come together in groups. When you're upset, you get together with your group of friends, whether it's people you talk to on the telephone, people that you meet at your local pub, people at your sewing circle, people, whatever it is that you do, you have those people that you depend on. Relatives, perfect example. And we're being told, don't go to your relatives for holidays. Don't go to them for anything. Stay at home. And it's been a year. A year unlike almost any other. I kicked off 2020 by saying it would change everything by doing nothing. I was more correct than I imagined. Yes, some are going to say the plague has transformed everything, and it was, but realistically, didn't change much. Retail was on the downward slide anyway. Cars were piling up all over the place anyway. So it changed everything, but it did nothing. I didn't call the plague. I didn't think it was going to become this bad, but it is what it is. I'm not psychic, never claimed to be. I just try to follow the money and see where it leads. The big problem with a plague, with a pandemic, whatever you want to call it, I can't use its real name because there are bots listening and I don't need strikes on my channel just yet. But it's something intangible. If it were a war, God forbid it ever becomes that, you could say, okay, the front line is there. The soldiers are there. We can see the planes going over. We know west of here is in danger. But a virus is entirely invisible. It's almost undetectable. Heck, there's arguments right now that the tests that they're using are not properly detecting the virus. And now that there's 3 variants of the virus, it's peculiar. Makes people even more afraid. And that's what leads to outbursts of anger. That's why you got a riot in the United States Capitol on January 6th. Because people are angry, afraid, and it doesn't take a big spark to get them riled up and going. This whole idiocy, I'm going to call it, in U.S. politics, where they're so adamantly opposed to each other, is because they're afraid and angry. I've said before, there's not much difference between the left and the right in the United States, but the way that they talk, you would think it was the continental divide. It's nothing of the sort, but people are so afraid. You're a fascist, you're a commie. It's easier just to insult the person and move on. Anger is what led to the riots. Fear is what led to the new president, President Biden, having a huge security force in around the capital and in all the other capital cities. I was actually kind of surprised when nothing happened. Pleasantly surprised, let me say. Don't like violence. I don't know whether I've made that clear or not, but I'm a veteran. I've seen violence. I've seen things that I don't want to remember. And just to see people willing to break in to one of the most heavily defended areas on Earth. Now, once they evacuated all the important people, I'm sure they said, have at it, we can fix everything, which would be normal. But it is curious how it all happened. How does one of the most protected places on Earth just magically get broke into? I've been to the White House. I've been to Washington, D.C., and they're pretty imposing fences. Back when I went there, they had a whole bunch of homeless people living there. But it hasn't evolved all that much. It's one big, huge place with lots of security. I could probably break into it if you gave me a month of planning and a precise team that I wanted, but I can't think of a good reason why. I mean, supposedly they were going after the senators. Supposedly they were going after Donald Trump. There's so many conspiracy theories on this one. It's impossible to sort through the noise. Everybody is afraid, and so everybody is saying, my side is right, your side is lying. And that's the other wonderful thing that fear and anger do. They put us in a defensive mindset. A lot of these conspiracy theories, of which I've heard some whoppers. My personal favorite being that Biden is only allowed to be the official president while Trump is still the shadow president. No, that didn't happen. I can assure you that Mr. Trump, if he had any chance to still be in office, he would be in office. I have absolute confidence in that. The same token, he didn't have any reason to be in office, so he's out. And Mr. Biden is now running things. I'd say hopefully it's a turn for the better, but again, I don't have much faith in sides in U.S. politics. You could put anybody you like. You could put Superman in there, and I still wouldn't trust him. You could put Batman in there, wouldn't trust him. Not the point. The point is, though, that fear has overwhelmed the presses. That's all we hear about day to day. It's fear porn. It's designed to get you frustrated and angry because you're stuck at home. Maybe you have a decent living and you got some food in the fridge, in which case, good for you. Maybe you're still hungry and you're trying to make ends meet, in which case, check around locally. There's a lot of volunteers trying to do a lot of good right now. But even they are running into problems. There were a group of teens who decided they were going to do a grocery delivery service for seniors. And they offered this for free. Basically, you would give them a list. The teenagers would go out and get the groceries and bring them back. Well, we all remember at the start of the pandemic how everybody was ransacking the shelves. And even to this point, you might not be able to get an exact brand or an exact whatever. The seniors that these teenagers were buying things for, going out, putting themselves to go the extra mile and keep our seniors safe, were responded to with the seniors getting angry and throwing things at them, and I'm not joking, literally throwing things at them, like a loaf of bread and a can of peaches, because it wasn't the right brand. Well, sorry, have you seen the shelves? I can't get the brands I want. And you know what? I'm not even that fussy. And I would never throw anything at a delivery person. In return, however, the delivery people have gotten dumber. When this all started, a buddy of mine was crowing and saying, there's jobs there, all you have to do is go sign up for Amazon. They're desperate for drivers everywhere. And he's right. But I've had more missed deliveries to my house that I've had to turn around and take the extra mile. I'm at the point I'm tired of it. I've had 3 pizzas delivered this week that I never ordered. And you try to help the person, and they're not even polite. And that's because of fear. He's in fear because he knows he can be replaced. I'm saying he because the delivery driver in my case was male. My beer delivery driver is female. But he was afraid. So when I tried to help him and I explained, okay, right number, wrong street, and then he just suddenly got very rude with me, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry that you can't follow GPS, but not my problem, and you shouldn't be bothering me since there is a stay-at-home order in place. Well, don't be rude to me. I wasn't. You're being very rude and bothering me. Sorry, just something I had to get off my chest there. It's a cause of great annoyance. I was going to call the company, and then I said to myself, I'm acting out of anger. Guy's afraid. He's afraid of losing his job because, like I said, there's 10 people willing to take that job. Because people are desperate to do anything for money right now. And I hope the guy had a good rest of the day. I hope he got a good tip on that order. It looked like $30, so hopefully got a $5, $10 tip just for being a good guy. But it's something that made me think. Since this has happened to me as often as it has, how many times when you order food is it going to the wrong house? It used to be a once in a while thing, like less than once a year, but like I said, the past week, 3 times, that's an insane amount. Different people, different companies. But because people are afraid for their jobs, as always, but magnified because they're thinking, now I got to remember to wear a mask. Now I got to remember to make sure to go to the right place. Now I got to remember this, to be there on time, and I guarantee their boss is always pushing them. You should be able to make 10 deliveries an hour, and I want to see 10 deliveries an hour, whatever their case is. That's what is being expected of them. So they have a lot of pressure on them. And those are the people that are on the road, which is why I'm very happy to shelter in place and stay at home right now, because I know those people are out there. Get into traffic, makes you angry, frustrated, and afraid, because people out there are just driving like there's nothing in the way. They're thinking it's summer, and they're cruising down the highways when there's snow on it, doing 120, thinking nothing bad is going to happen to them. And maybe that's their little bit of freedom in the world. I don't begrudge them the freedom. I just want them to be safe. Is it worth your freedom to be scraped off the side of the highway with a shovel? No. We have to be calm. We have to be safe. As Yoda said, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. I'm sure he said something else. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I know it's different. But that little bit of wisdom from George Lucas, or whoever edited it, I'm not going to argue about that. It's never been more true than in the present day. And he wrote that in 1980. Well, probably in the 1970s, but he finalized it in 1980. And we're seeing it now. Everywhere we look, there is fear. There's anger. There's hate. I have heard more racist statements in the past year than I have in my life. Now, I was blessed. I went to a very integrated school that had high standards. So, we had people from different multicultural backgrounds, and they all performed differently depending on their abilities. But we all got along more or less. There were cliques and stuff like that, but it wasn't racially based. It was kind of the drama kids hung together, the sports jocks hung together, the nerds hung together, your typical kind of high school stuff. Rockers, your punkers. Wow, the punkers are still around? Wonder how successful that would be. I guess the goths would have absorbed them. Totally irrelevant, just wondering about old high school days. This is where things get interesting, though. Right now, people only have their support groups, and they don't have them in front of them because you can't go out to a bar, you can't go out to your men's club, your women's club, your book club. So you're either watching people online through a Zoom meeting, through what do you call it? It's various methods of chat. Let's just put it down to that. And that's very different from what we're used to. There's an old experiment that was done, I forget what decade, but early on, before the 1960s, I'm sure. And they took 3 apes of various sorts, be they monkey, I think they were monkeys. Sorry, this is my first year psychology class. This is going back a little bit, and I don't care to admit how long ago that was. They took 3 baby monkeys. They put one monkey with its mother. They put one monkey with a stuffed animal. And they put one monkey on its own, by itself. That's pretty cruel, but they wanted to see what happened. The one that lived with its mother grew up like a normal monkey. No, nothing weird, nothing strange. The one with the teddy bear, the stuffed animal, whatever you want to call it, grew up, it was a little shy, it was a little stuff, but the same token, it managed to make it through. The one with nothing died. It's a symptom called failure to thrive. It's a real condition. If you leave a baby and it doesn't have anyone to care for it, it'll just shut itself down. And the same instincts that are programmed into us as babies are programmed into us as adults. Do you know how many people out there have been single, alone at home for the majority of the past year? Lots. They've been without physical contact, and no matter who you are, on occasion you need a hug. Arnold Schwarzenegger is one tough guy. He needs a hug every once in a while. Chuck Norris still needs a hug. Bruce Lee, he needed hugs. So there's nothing wrong with saying you need a little bit of human contact every now and again. Governments, in their wisdom, have seen fit that they're not worthy of it. Or if they are, then they can go and visit one group of people. I have friends that I've known for 40 years that live a 3-minute walk away from me. I haven't seen them in months because I can't. And we have that one nosy neighbor who's just looking outside, looking for a reason to call the cops. Oh, look, they're visiting and they're not supposed to be. Every block has one. Not particularly mad at them. That's the only way they can feel validated in life, and so be it. Because they're stuck inside too. See, that's the problem. Almost everybody is in pretty much the same situation. Essential services only covers a very small part of the population. Even once you factor in transportation being essential, emergency services, health services, and construction services apparently. Once you factor in all those jobs, it's still not a significant portion of the population. The rest of the population is dealing with job and income loss, business loss. Now, keep in mind, let's go back to the small business for a second. If you run your own business, that's your baby. You've literally nurtured that thing from, again, I'm going to pick on a cleaning business. Maybe you have one person and it's one person doing cleaning, whether it's you, your spouse, whoever it is, and they have one customer, and you build it up to 20, 30 customers and 2 or 3 employees. Good for you, but you had to nurture it. You had to build that trust. You had to build that confidence. And now, all that's gone away because you can't go into other people's houses. There's supposedly a section of the law that says you're allowed to go in, but at the same token, people are saying, I'm not sure if I want this woman who's doing 20 people's houses to come into my house. It's just frustrating. If you don't have a way to deliver your service online or pick up at the door, you're basically out of business at this point. So if you're in the pizza delivery business, you're probably making it through this without much of a problem, because your business model was able to adapt to this new situation. If you were a hobby store, like Sew and Surge. I pick on sewing a lot because it's a big business in the local area. Local gaming store, whether it's video games, card games, board games, whatever it is, you can kind of make a living off of selling your stuff, but people who are in that business make their money more off the incidentals than they do the product. Local gaming stores generally make their money off of hosting game nights. Sewing places, hobby places, make their money off education nights where they're going to show you how to do a particular stitch or a particular weave. And losing that income is the difference between life and death for these businesses. If you're lucky and you can somehow run a business out of your home and insure it and have it certified and all those other wonderful things, this is my problem. I have great ideas for businesses and I have the space in my home to do it, but they will all either impact my insurance or I'll have to get safety certification, which is expensive. And yeah, right there I start thinking, okay, insurance is going to kill that business. Can't blame insurance companies on that one either. And I will be the first to take up arms against insurance companies. I will be the first to point out the evils of insurance companies. Not this year. Not in 2020 and 2021. Because they don't even know what they've been hit with yet. Not only with their health insurance side, not only with their death insurance side, life insurance, but it's really death insurance. Like everything that they have that they normally do and invest in and the way that they trade has been blown up. It's hard for them to tell a safe bet from a not safe bet anymore. And it doesn't help that people were lying before this and they're lying now. I've had a problem with Uber since day one. Now, my problem isn't really with Uber. My problem isn't really with the drivers. My problem is most Uber drivers are not declaring on their insurance that they're using their vehicle for a commercial purpose. Now, this might lose me a couple people, but bear with me. If you're a listener, I'm sure you're not the problem. You're a safe driver and you only do it part-time, so it shouldn't apply to you. That's probably true. I have a number of listeners who are good drivers and are safe and everything else, and the insurance gets really expensive for no reason whatsoever. You never have a problem with the good people, but there's always those people that you just don't trust. Ever been to a rifle range, a gun range? Anything where, even a bowling alley, there's that one person you just don't trust, the kid that's throwing a little wild, the person that's not respecting range safety and is waving their gun all over the place. Yeah, it's the same with cars, same with Uber. And just because you've gone however many days with an accident, doesn't matter. I used to work at a place, and we had one of our drivers who had gone 40 years without an accident. And no word of a lie, on the day he retired, somebody ran into him. And so that went and gets him on his last day of retirement, the literally whole lethal weapon situation. I was ready to retire. Same darn thing. He was a good guy. He was a safe driver. I would trust this guy with my baby in his back seat. He would take care of that thing. I don't have a baby at the moment, just for the record, but if I had one, I would. And that's the problem. People are lying because they're afraid if they don't lie, they're not going to be able to make any money. So they go out for Uber Eats, skip the dishes, whatever else have you for food delivery, Amazon, and they're running around in their car, uninsured for that particular business, and companies are happy to pay them under the table. So now we start to see multiple levels. The insurance company is not only not seeing the money they should rightfully have, and it pains me to say rightfully have, but the government is missing out on their taxes, both from the driver, from not declaring his income, and from the insurance company, who pays a big portion in taxes. Because of that, the governments are turning around right now, and they're all saying we can't afford to keep propping up the economy. And the governments are right. They can't afford it, but they can't afford not to. Governments are afraid too. They know there's a lot of unhappy people out there. Every government in the world just got a demonstration of that on January 6th. So whether they can afford it or whether they can't afford it is irrelevant. It's how much punishment can they take. When this is over, how do they replenish all that money that is gone? That's gone. Let's face it, it is gone. Maybe you're lucky and you have some chickens or you grow some flowers, so you're not losing a whole lot of money at the present time. Or maybe you're investing in gold and silver and diamonds and all those other pretty trinkets that people seem to think are safe. Here's a hint, they're not. But unless you have a side hustle, side something where you're bringing in money, you're basically a government employee right now. You're depending on those employment insurance, stimulus checks, whatever it is they decide to give you. And it doesn't feel very good, I'm sure. The only question becomes, and this is looking forward about a year. That's right, I'm predicting for us to go through 2021 without a lot of improvements in this. Hopefully I'm wrong. But even if tomorrow we could send everybody, hey, you're out of the house. Everything's miraculously been cleared up. We waved a magic wand and poofed it. Thanos snapped that thing right out of existence. So let's assume they somehow manage a feat like that. Great, unemployment is about 50 to 60% on the raw number, not what they're telling you, but the number of people who have applied for benefits. And I consider that number the valuable one because the employment insurance one, they always want to keep low. But the ones who have applied for benefits, it's a harder number to find, but it's very worthwhile. It tells you the real state of what the economy is. And like I said, that number is between 50 and 60 right now. So half the people are out of work. In the 1930s, after the Spanish flu, we went into the Great Depression. And I'm wondering how it's possible for us to avoid a second Great Depression. Things were on the way down. After the hit in 2008, we were never really properly stable again. And things would go up and down. We'd have certain inflations and deflations. But companies were laying off. People were getting paid less. Profits were down. Everything was there. You name it. All the way up to 2020. And then you throw in this wild card of a virus that has stricken everybody in one way, shape, or form. Believe it or not, whether you think it's real or not, the effects are real. What is happening is real. And it's going to keep happening until either everybody gets vaccinated, which is going to be fun, or until somehow this thing mutates again and stops infecting humans, which I don't think it's going to do. So we're settled in here for a pretty long haul. Hope you got some board games. Hope you got someone to play those board games with. I am very thankful, though, that this is happening in the year 2020 and 2021. Because if this had happened, say, in 2000, people would be going nuts. We didn't have the internet developed to the way it was. I mean, people were starting to get onto it. I had been on it from early on because that was when it was the real Wild West and all sorts of crazy stuff was online. But in 2021, people are playing the heck out of games. I'll be honest, I'm not a saint. I'm not somehow above everybody else. I play those video games too, and I've noticed the wait times in the lobbies have gone insane. I don't bother playing them on weekends. It's just not worth my time. Because there's too many people that have all day to do nothing. And even during the week, there's too many people that have all day to do nothing. Hell, I'm here right now at 4 o'clock in the morning pretty much, and I know I'm not going to be able to log on to anything successfully because it's just a bad time. But without the internet, let's even take it back to the 1970s. And I'm picking on the 1970s on purpose because that was before VHS before VHS was really widespread. Maybe you might have a Pong console. Maybe if you're lucky, you might have an Atari. Or a ColecoVision or Intellivision or something like that. Odyssey 2, etc. Point being, you would be going absolutely nuts. You would only have a few stations, well, depending on your market, of course, that you're listening, but there was only 3 networks back then: CBS, NBC, ABC. Fox did not exist. It just wasn't a thing. CNN wasn't a thing. Lots of things were not a thing. Getting BBC over here, unheard of. The 1970s, remember, to call long distance was an expensive proposition. So you couldn't even FaceTime your friends and say, "Hi, how you doing?" Couldn't do a group chat because it was expensive. And the switching stations are weird, so you never know what long distance is and what isn't. So for me, my phone is based in a different location from where I live on purpose. So my friend who lives across the road can call different people than I can. Although I can't see that friend at the moment. It's useful for me because my calls tend to go more into the downtown region, whereas for him, certain places are long distance. In 2021, not a big deal. There's plans you can get. But in 1970s, you had to call at specific times, like Sunday at 7 o'clock, and you had to time it that you were only going to be on for 5 minutes, and that would be a $5, $10 phone call, and that's in 1970s dollars. So the internet really is the saving grace at the present time. The problem with the internet is it still has a bit of the Wild West left on it. Remember I said about fear and anger? Well, behind a computer screen, that fear and anger comes out. I've seen, and I'm not a person to call racist. I'm not. I do not like to use that word. I would like to pretend it doesn't exist. But there's places out there that I tell you, that Stormfront, VNN, F-196, that are just devoted to hating people based on the color of their skin or the beliefs that they have. And I'm not just talking, I don't like person X. I mean, all X's are Y. We need to X all Y's. And it's just, once you poke around the deep web for a little bit, you just find things that make you question, where these people get off every day? Like, it's 2021. Live in a weird society. Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. It's not like immigrants are new. Not only did all of us start as immigrants, but we still have immigrants coming over, and I got no issue with that. Bring them in. I have yet to see anybody come over that, how do I say this? I've yet to see anybody come over that doesn't at least intend to do better for themselves. How they choose to do it, meh. Different plans, different ideas. But same token, at least they have a plan. Whereas the people broadcasting the hate are sitting there, they were on welfare before this, and are just sitting around complaining about people taking their jobs. No one's taking your job. You weren't going out to get that job in the first place. You had no interest in working at the convenience store. You had no interest in working at the coffee shop. They didn't steal your jobs. Nobody wanted that job. The person took it. And it's scary that this fear and anger has now developed its own little cult following on the internet. Well, always had it, but now there's more and more places popping up that are dedicated to it. And this is the part that scares me a lot. And this is, I'm saying I'm scared, not afraid. I'm scared, honestly. If you can get groups of people together to attack the capital of the United States of America, the White House, the heart of the nation itself, what else are being planned on these more backwater boards that most of the people don't go to? And I don't even like, I probably shouldn't have said their names, but I wanted to let people know that they're out there. And I want them shut down, to be honest. But these people will just find another one. It's not really that hard to open up your own discussion forum or group or whatever. We've seen that proven many times over the past 4 years. And I have no problem with patriotism. I have no problem with people who are sitting there saying their rights, this, that, the other thing. Yes, your rights are important. And rights should not be suspendable. But in times of emergency, the Constitution, the Charter, whatever you have, specifically states your rights can be taken away from you to suit the public good. The Manhattan Project was successful because people signed away their rights. They had the right to free speech, but they kept their mouths shut. We still don't know what's going on in Area 51 today, because people are giving away their rights. And right now, it's frustrating. I understand. It's fearful. You don't know what's happening. You don't know when this stuff is going away, and it seems to get worse and worse. Makes you angry. You're stuck at home. Maybe you're the person with 5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. Maybe you're just alone. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But the important thing is, don't let the anger overcome you. Don't let the fear overcome you. This is the time. This is the place where we need to show we have evolved as a species. We're not a bunch of brutish, mindless apes. We're not going to fall over each other and club each other over the head with sticks so that we can get the biggest chunk of meat. That scene from the beginning of 2001 in front of the monolith where they're hitting each other with sticks, that's not human beings. We're better than that. Yes, there's a lot of people out there with guns that are trying to say, you can't take my guns. And I'm saying, yeah, they can. If they want to, in a totally free society with no restrictions on, they can. The Branch Davidians, the Koresh Ranch, they proved that they can go in and get weapons from anybody. The Aum Sung, I think it is, cult in Japan that was manufacturing sarin gas and stockpiling weapons, they were able to go in and get them. Your small arms are not going to deter a fully equipped SWAT team or a military detachment, no matter how good you think you are. So, since your anger is nothing but suicidal, I beg of you, be afraid. You wouldn't be human if you didn't feel a little fear. If I threw you off the side of the building and you didn't know I had a bungee cord on you, you're going to be afraid and probably angry when you get back up. Well, why would you do that to me? And you would be justified in feeling those feelings. But fear is something we can control. And there's fear everywhere. Yes, they've calmed down on TV. Aside from reporting that there's new strains and stuff like that. But we need to calm down too. You're in your home. You're in your house. Wherever it is. Because I know there's not very many homeless people listening to this broadcast. And if there are, I hope you're in one of the places where they have the reserved areas, the little tiny shelters, whatever they call them, and you're listening to this on the free Wi-Fi that's provided. I think that's an excellent idea. The homeless have a hard job in any situation, and in this pandemic, it's only 10 times worse. I actually don't know if I'm allowed to say the pandemic word. Oh well. We'll find out how many strikes I get. But the important thing is, homeless people live with the exact opposite fear that we have. We're inside wishing we could get out. They're outside wishing they could be in. So, take stock of your blessings. This is a difficult situation, and it's going to continue being difficult. Everybody is out placing ridiculous orders for these vaccines. Canada has a population of 40,000, and they've ordered 400,000 vaccines. Don't know what the numbers are in the United States, but I don't know why you would order 10 times more than what you could possibly use. Yes, some are going to be spoiled. Yes, you can donate some to other countries, but no company would do that. They would figure out, okay, we have 10 employees, so let's get in 16 vaccines. Why? Just in case some spoil. Okay, that's a good idea. Simple math. You don't order 100 vaccines when you have 10 employees. Even if you intend to give them away to charity, you'd probably order 20 or 30. It's just a different time that we're going through. But the one thing I can promise you, on behalf of the Silverlight Show, all of its staff and its sponsors, can promise you we're going to make it through this. 2021 is going to be a rough year for everybody. It's going to be hard. If you are alone and you don't have anybody to talk to, there's places online you can go. There are emergency numbers you can call. I don't have them in front of me, but a quick Google search will tell you what's available in your area. Certain areas have 411, will put you in touch with city services, and they'll be able to tell you, yes, we got a number for that. If you dial operator, they might be able to help you. Was it 411? 311 is for city. Sorry, the 311 is for the local city. 411 is directory assistance. Get somebody you can talk to. No matter whether it's wife, spouse. Heck, I talk to my cat. I always did, and I've always said, I'm glad my cat can't talk because it knows the secrets about me that nobody else does. But just make sure in these trying times, you're not alone, and if you are alone, you find a way so that you don't have to be alone. Because we're going through this, and it's not ending before next year. They're already starting to look at Christmas parades and thinking, should we cancel them? It's January. Keep that in mind. We wish to thank you for joining us for the Silverlight Show. Hopefully we left you with a positive message, because that's what we're going to need to get through this next year. I really don't know what to say at this point, because I want to thank everybody for tuning in. There'll be a link to our books in the description. Remember, the information is free that we give away, but what we write, we put energy into, we expect minimum compensation. The paperbacks are under $10, and the ebook is under $1. So it's not like we're asking a lot. We're asking less than a price of coffee a day, just like they used to say. But anyways, thank you for listening to the Silverlight Show. Have a great day.